Okay, good morning. Pete from A Bit Twisted. So this morning I'm spinning on the little flax wheel that I have, and just wanted to show that it's a working wheel. So this one is kind of unique because it doesn't have your standard hooks like you would find in a regular spinning wheel, but has a loop peg, metal loop peg, and you just pull it up and move it over wherever you want it to be. So that's basically your hook, just a single hook. And it also has a hook here, and that hook prevents the yarn from rubbing against the bobbin. And this is a bobbin driven wheel instead of a flyer driven wheel. So we have a adjustment here, tension adjustment, and then your orifice. But your flyer assembly is one piece of wood, or actually two pieces of wood. So you get your main part here, and then you have your arms connected in through that. Then you've got your orifice hole here, same on the other side, and come out here. So here is where the distaff is stored. And this does have a two-piece distaff, big, tall one. And then you have your footman, you have your axle. This axle is different because it only has a spike that comes out and not like a bent one like a lot of them are. And then I just slip that in, and I put a little washer, because when you're spinning, this moves. And if it moves up against the wood peg that holds it in place, it will squeak. So that washer prevents the squeak. And then you have your pegs that hold your axles in place so this doesn't pop off. And the axle rides on a little leather bearing, or a little leather bushing at the bottom of this holder. And down at the bottom of the footman, can't see it from here, there is a piece of leather down there, and it too also has a washer, a leather washer that I put in on the far side, because it tends to, the bottom of this footman tends to move away, and then it rubs against the wood, and wood against wood squeaks, even with a little bit of oil. And so you have one of these pegs on each side. And then again, you have a tensioner here. And then on the far side here is your tension. So this whole front piece moves forward and backwards as you screw this in or out. And that puts tension on your drive belt. So you only need enough tension to work. And like this wheel has a large drive band, and it's accommodating a large drive band on the bobbins. And there are 4 bobbins for this wheel. This allows light tension, but yet enough grip. And I was going to put a linen drive band on. I may still, but I have to make it thicker so it works better. But anyway, just enough to drive that without slipping, and just enough tension on here to pull on without slipping. So even though this is a flax wheel, you can also spin wool. So there's no reason to not spin wool if you're not going to do flax. And it's a good little wheel. So I'm going to get the wheel started. And there's a little foot ledge at the bottom for your foot. So you draft out your thread and then just let your thread in. So I can draft out a long draft. And then let it draw on. And I can also pull back without breaking the thread. And that's the kind of tension that you want. You don't want so much tension that it breaks it or tries to yank it out of your hand. And that's for any wheel. This is a small wheel, it's not a large wheel. It's nice in the corner, out of the way, perfect for small homes, apartments, tiny homes if you're living in a tiny home, even small enough to take in a travel trailer if you're traveling, and also a very good one to take to shows. So I'm at the end here, so I'm going to take my yarn, swing this around just a little bit. I'm going to take my yarn, a little bit of fuzzy, and then I'm just going to lay it on top of my yarn here, and then just let it kind of, the twist itself, pick it up. And then just go. So that was not the best join there, but it works. So now we're going to show the changing of the hook. So right now, let me get the camera a little bit closer here. The camera focused there. So we'll just keep that there. So you have a loop. Then you have this hook here just to hold. This hook is a non-movable hook. This is just there to keep the yarn from pressing up against here when you have this hook forward, or even when it's across there, so it's not rubbing against the bobbin. So this hook literally just pops out. Just a loop with a peg on the bottom. And then you just move it to the next hole. Just lightly press it in, and it's ready to go. And you should be able to see unless I put it back on the same spot, it should be. I may have done that. Oh, there's yarn. And then you just start feeding your yarn in again. And you just draft out whatever thickness you want. And let's say you want to check your yarn, check thickness. You can stop then you can fold on top of itself and then let it twist onto itself, and then that's what you'll get. And so that's basically the wheel. It's a small rectangular frame. It's sturdy, moves a little bit on the carpet up and down just because the carpet can be thick, but it's fine, works on the carpet just fine. Typically they were done, you know, hard floor, but doesn't matter. That's just kind of history stuff there, just wherever. And they don't do well out in wet grass because they tend to sink in the ground. So if you do take it outside to spin, put it on a small platform, and small sturdy platform, and you'll be fine. Same with your chair. I've tried it both ways, and chairs will sink into unless the ground is really hard, which hopefully you don't have super hard ground. And that's the wheel. And when you're ready, you just unhook that and move it again over to the next one. So that's ready to go, and that keeps the yarn from rubbing. So it's like a guide. Then when you stop, you can wrap around that peg and just let it sit. If you're doing flax or hemp, you can use the distaff where it's at and feed it in. So you can swing the distaff out a little bit and feed it in. Or you can take it out, hold the distaff in your hand or your lap, or let it rest on the floor or something, and then feed in from there. And I was taking it and holding it in my lap, and horizontally in my lap, and then feeding off of that, and that works too. Or just an extra upright stand next to your wheel here, and that works. I have one that I set up on a light stand that's adjustable up and down, and so I hook it on there, and I can move it up and down as the fiber gets smaller, thinner and thinner. So that's what that is. And so this is your wheel. It's a nicely made wheel. It is a wheel that, you know, somebody produced a bunch of them. There is no maker mark on this. So we do know it's a German. The writing's in German. May not be a German-made wheel, because I have a Swiss-made wheel that's very almost identical design as this. But the wording on here is German. And so this is Hemp and Flax, and talks about farmer's wife, you know, about the hemp and flax. So I'll write that out when I post this. So there's your little wheel, and hope you enjoyed that, and we'll talk to you later. There's nothing super special. It's just small. It is a bobbin driven, or what some people will call an Irish tension wheel, and And since the flyer is so lightweight, even when there's very little tension on the flyer, it doesn't pull it out of your hand. But there's enough to let it go on if you're spinning thin. And I do. I spin thin thread. And my thin thread is for the loom and not for knitting. And the orifice is big enough, you can make reasonable sized knitting yarn. I wouldn't say super bulky though, but you might be able to get some good weight of 2-ply yarn. Or if you spin like this and want 3-ply, this would make a really nice 3-ply and for knitting, and or a blanket on the loom if you wanted to go that way. So anyway, enough talking, and we'll talk to you later. Pete from A Bit Twisted.